Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Street Cop Training Podcast. Your host, founder, and CEO of Street Cop Training. My name is Dennis Benino, and I have today with me somebody that I've developed a friendship with. I consider to be a blessing to have encountered him. It was suggested to us for us to connect on social media and have Mario Oliveira on the podcast. Last episode he did was a few months back, and I have received so much feedback from our audience about how emotional people were after listening to that. And I have to tell everybody that I was quite emotional listening to it last time. I think we humanize with a situation in a story like Mario's where he went through some significant, and that is a understatement, trauma sustained in a shooting that occurred with a person who opened fire on him at point blank range. And if you haven't heard the first version of it, go back, look for Mario, search him up, listen to that podcast episode. So this is going to be episode 2 of that story. And I will let Mario, who's here with us now, take us where he wants to go. So, man, welcome back. And before you say anything, just so you all know, this gentleman will be a speaker at our 2023 conference in Nashville, Tennessee, April 23rd to the 28th. We will release the schedule soon. We're working on it now, but Mario will be a guest speaker telling some of his story. So, hey, man, great to see you back.
Thanks, Dennis, and thanks for inviting me back on your show. It's always an honor and a pleasure. So where I left off the first podcast was me coming home from my hospital stay and having my stomach come undone and essentially my guts hanging out in front of my kid and my parents. And they had to rush me back to the hospital. So oddly enough, I came back home that night later on. I got home in the morning, like around 10 a.m. and stayed at the hospital all day running tests and whatnot. And they sewed me back up and I made it home. The next morning, I found out that my wife was pregnant. So I died 3 times in the hospital the night I was shot. I would have died and never known I had another baby coming. Imagine the tragedy there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I found out my wife was pregnant. 9 months later, on my birthday, on July 30th, my boy was born.
It's great.
So instead of God taking my life that night, he gave me a life.
It's awesome.
Yeah, gave me a life. So of course, what's on my mind is I'm the provider, right? As most men are, and especially if you're a cop, we're dominant. You know, we're the alpha male of the house. At least we think we are anyway, right? I got to earn. I got to take care of my family. I got a mortgage to pay, car payments, other obligations like everybody else. And that started weighing on me. As I'm only getting my base salary, there's no more extra jobs. We call them details up here in Mass. No detail money, no court, no overtime, nothing. It's a major hit for me financially. So this starts weighing on me. I start learning about retirement and how much I'm going to get. And I came upon a thing called special legislation. I don't know if you know about it or any of your listeners do. But in this state of Mass, I found out through my digging, being a detective, in 2010, when I got shot, at that point, there were only 53 officers before me who had been shot, stabbed, run over, whatever, violently injured in the line of duty. Their respective municipalities wrote up, the mayor or the town manager of those jurisdictions wrote up special legislation which supersedes the 72% what you normally get, and it gives you 100%.
That's great.
Gives you 100%. So I called my chief up and I said, hey, listen, did you know this exists? He says, yeah, I do. I said, well, can you put me in for it? And he did the paperwork and filed it up to the city hall. I waited around 2.5 years for an answer from my mayor and heard nothing. Every couple of weeks, I called the station, talk to my chief and say, hey, what's the deal? Is he going to give me this or not? And the chief would say to me, Mario, I don't know. They have meetings up there all the time relative to your retirement, but I'm not invited. I'm not privy to the conversations. They're not letting me in the meetings. So needless to say, by me sitting at home, trying to recover, here I am, like I feel like the redheaded stepchild. Like I was a hero one day, and you're right next to me when the news is here. And now when I want to retire and get what I deserve, you abandon me. You just ignore me. You just leave me out there to high and dry. So that did a number on me mentally. I was at home worrying and wondering what the city was going to do, if they were going to really help me, because I had another baby now. I'm seeing my wife work extra hours at her work to help me make ends meet. And I mean, I felt like a burden. I became a burden to my own family.
Mm-hmm.
I became a burden. You know, wasn't too much that I could do. I'm still recovering. I mean, it was a disaster. But let me digress for a second. What I failed to tell you was I went back to work 5 months after I got shot. 5 months. And it wasn't because I wanted to be a hero again. It was because I needed to earn and take care of my family. So I forced myself to go back, only to suffer a major heart attack that was connected to my shooting. And then subsequently after that, I suffered a stroke that left me paralyzed my whole left side. Well, the summer of 2015.
Isn't it wild? Isn't it wild that this is this poor soul that you are, who had to sustain such a significant injury, and you're being led back to work right away? It's ridiculous. It's absurd.
I had to endure all that just because I wanted to take care of my family.
Yeah.
And to have a mayor of a city who thinks he's God control the purse strings and control how to dictate how I'm going to provide for my family is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
These politicians are not God. They're elected officials, and they're only there temporarily. And then they're off doing the next thing. What gives them the right to dictate how your life is going to go for the rest of your life? They don't have special powers. That's what society is. That's reality, and that power needs to be taken away from them. It really does, in my opinion. There should be laws enacted that if an officer gets permanently injured in line of duty, they need to be taken care of. You know, they need to be taken care of, honored and taken care of, not left out, you know, in a corner somewhere so they worry about how they're going to take care of their family.
It's fucked up.
It's so upside down. It's not even funny.
Do you know anything about the federal benefits program that they offer? Can you touch on that a little bit so people know what it's available and how it works? Are you immediately familiar with it, or you know a little bit about it?
No, I know a lot about it. So I'm the president for Concerns of Police Survivors in New England, as I mentioned to you off air. And basically, the line of duty death benefit right now is $389,825. Okay, there's part A and part B when you apply for it. There's 2 parts. However, also, if you get injured in the line of duty, you can apply for it, but the requirements are so strict, so tough, and it's just such a narrow window. Unless you're like bedridden or in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, you're not going to get it. So
do you think it's worth applying for it, though?
It's worth a shot, yes, but they want so much information. They want doctor's notes after doctor's notes and medical records and access to this. And in the end, if they think you can get up and walk and go collect tickets at a movie theater, you're not eligible.
Why do they make it so difficult to obtain those funds?
It's government money. But you see, they don't make it difficult for other things. You know, it's crazy.
It is crazy. It is absolutely insane.
Yeah, money's available for other agendas that meet certain people's political views and whatnot. But the common sense, like the human thing to do to help a human being, they make it difficult.
Not only a human being, let's even call it what it is. Somebody who went out in the line of duty and did their job and put their life on the line and almost lost their life. And now trying to get help from those he protected or she protected and having their back turned on them. And you know what? Some of this progression of fixing this is talking about this and taking action. And prior to us getting on the air here, we did talk about both of us taking action in this field. And There's not too much I can reveal, but that's a big part of the plan at Street Cop Training. What we're trying to do is to address, and Mario, I mean, I support you 100%. There's anything I can do to provide support to help push that agenda that you're working with. I believe in it. I'd be a complete hypocrite if I didn't say I'm 100% behind it. So whatever I can do within my means, I'm available for you if you need to do that.
Thank you. I might call on you for that.
Yeah, you got my number, bro.
How about this one? The current issue that I'm just before I got on with you, I was on the phone with our PR people from my organization. In Massachusetts, we have 7 families who have officers who died in the last 2 years due to COVID. Okay. So in 2020, President Trump enacted a law that made if an officer dies from COVID, it's considered a line of duty death benefits. Line of duty death. So these families have received the federal benefit, okay, from Washington. However, the state of Massachusetts has yet to approve that and will not give the state benefit.
Wow. That
usually and always has gone hand in hand. If you die in the line of duty, like if it was 5 years ago, a shooting, you get the federal benefit and the state benefit. I'm happy to tell you what they are if you need it. But now, because of COVID, the state of Mass, the lawmakers here, they don't want to pass the bill. So I've got families, some of these widows, these poor widows, one of which is working 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Her poor husband died of COVID. She's got 2 kids. She's left alone to pay for the mortgage, pay for all the bills. It's just her now. It's just her only income. She gets 30% of her husband's pay. It should be 100%.
Wow.
But it's only going to happen when the bill gets signed by the governor and they make it a law. And I'm up there talking to lawmakers every week, and they just turn a blind eye, and now we're dealing with other issues.
It's horrible.
It's pathetic. This is how they're treating families of cops, of law enforcement.
I mean, look what Jon Stewart had to go through to get the 9/11 benefits approved. Had to literally embarrass the United States Congress or Senate, whatever it was, and just call them just disgusting and pitiful. It's wild, man.
Sickening.
Wild stuff. Well, listen, obviously you were chosen by the good Lord for a reason. And this is one of the upsides of going through what you went through and why you were chosen to be the one. So, I think a lot of people who sustain injury like you do, and the people that I talk to and interview and befriend, all find some other kind of purpose behind what has occurred. But yeah, it's important work, man. I commend you for doing it. It takes a lot of balls.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's a passion. I know what it's like to suffer and have no one really there to help you. I couldn't ask anybody any questions because no one really knew anything. And I was forced to kind of be self-taught and just do a lot of research and do a lot of reading and to really learn about all this stuff. And, I made a promise to my wife and my children. And I said, when I'm done with this and I beat the city, which I did, I have 100% of my pay. So when I'm done and I win, I'm gonna make a change. And that's when I started my nonprofit organization with my partner Bob DiNapoli from Ubin. We went through the same thing. We helped each other out. And we now have a nonprofit, 501c3, and we have legislation that's pending up at the State House right now that once it's passed, any cop in this state, actually any first responder, firemen, police, EMT, corrections, you get violently injured in line of duty and permanently injured, you're going to receive 100% of your pay. So you reach the age of 65. You're going to have all your medical bills covered by your city or town. And here's what else we throw in there. No income restrictions on your earnings. So as long as you work in the private sector, you can make as much money as you want and still collect your full pay from your city or town.
It should be.
You know what? You deserve that shit. You've earned it the hard way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pending. And I've already passed this bill in Kentucky and Oklahoma. Same exact bill. Imagine that. It started here in Mass. And these people they don't work. They don't want to pass it. And I've passed it in 2 other states. And it's been filed in New Hampshire, in New Jersey, in Georgia, Arizona, and Colorado.
I could almost guess which ones are going to get, which ones are going to approve it first.
Exactly. So that's my dream, is to hopefully get every state in the U.S. to pass my bill to give protections to all of our seriously permanently injured police officers.
I want to go back to where we were a little bit before, and it's obviously very important that we talk about the message that we just talked about. I know that you were 2.5 years. I'm assuming you had a lot of rehab that you had to go through. Have to get. How many times did you say shots to the stomach? 6 times? With 6 times?
6 times.
Yeah. So you shot 6 times in the line of duty. You're out. Your wife's working all this extra work, and what kind of rehab were you going through, and what was it like trying to take care of your kids so injured?
I couldn't walk. I couldn't climb stairs for several weeks when I got home from the hospital. I pretty much lived on my couch in the living room. That was really it. And then,
did you have anybody like checking in on you and stuff? Any friends of yours?
I had my guys, all my cops, my ATF guys. They were at my house every single day, every day. I can't speak highly enough of those guys and gals. My guys were at my house every single day, so much so that I got sick of them. I was telling them to go home. And honestly, I was getting edible arrangements sent to my house every single friggin' day. I had so much that I could have started my own warehouse. I was giving them away to neighbors. I'm like, here, please take it. The community, I got cards. I still have them. I have a basket like this big of get well cards, little kids in school who knew me, when I was a cop. And it was nice. The community really came together for me. And I was very grateful. And I've learned, as cops, we get very cynical and we hate everybody, right? That's when I found out, like, you know what? There's nice people in our communities. We just need to find them. They're not all bad. And I was very grateful for my community, and the people in it.
It's the same thing we hear over and over from everybody who's been through something traumatic, is they're surprised by the amount of support and that has come into them. And it really gave them more perspective. And let's face facts, as cops, we get very jaded. Think about your environment is. They're constantly getting beat up with. Who do we deal with? The worst people in society. It's not like you're going to work and meditating and talking about how wonderful the world is. You're dealing with nonstop bullshit all the time. It's very rare that there are wonderful moments in law enforcement. People don't realize that it's a lot of it's, there's a reason why these guys get beat up, because it's a mental mind fuck nonstop. So I know that you subsequently ended up retiring, right? And then.
Yeah. So I was approached by one of the senators, late Senator Ken Donnelly, who's deceased now, God rest his soul. He was a retired fireman, really good guy, pro-police, and a Democrat. And he came to my house. And he says, I heard that you've been struggling at home and trying to deal with your mayor. And I told him, yes, I haven't heard from him. I talk to my chief every week and I have no updates. I don't know what's going on, and neither do they, for that matter. So the senator went up to City Hall to go talk to the mayor. And he pleaded with him to write up the special legislation, because that's the process. You know what my mayor had the balls to say? He told the senator, mind your business.
Whoa.
You handle matters up at the State House. I run the city. I'll handle matters here as it pertains to the city of Somerville. And my senator left, and he was angry. He called me and told me about this conversation. He was pissed off. But eventually, through maybe a little political pressure, my mayor finally agreed to do it. And I got it. But it wasn't for almost 2.5 years of emotional pain and suffering and not knowing. And I developed anxiety as a result of all that. And I'll never forgive him to this day because of it. Here's what's worse. I knew the kid. I grew up with him. We went to school together. He knows my whole family. I'm the highest decorated cop in the history of my department. I wasn't a bum that got shot. I was a good cop who did the right thing. Perfect attendance for over 10 years. I almost got killed, bled out on a fucking street. And this is how you treat me? You don't treat a human being like that.
human beings, right? Progressive, but no compassion for a fellow human being, only seeing it through the filter of what they want to see.
And I'll never forget.
Very hypocritical, isn't it?
And I tell everybody that asks me, I'm very, very blunt about it, that it's the 2.5 years that I went into a deep depression because of this. Caused me more damage than taking 6 bullets.
So subsequently, you retire. You end up getting 100%. The senator comes to your aid. What continues on with the story of Mario Oliveira?
My mission on trying to make it a law, to change the laws to assist the permanently injured. That's been my mission for the last 10 years.
Are you doing a lot on social media? Do you have a place where people can follow you?
I mean, I have Facebook, but I don't really post a lot of stuff on there, you know? I'm a very private guy. I keep to myself. I don't get involved because it's bad out there right now politically, you know? So many people hate cops, you know, because of what they see on the news and what certain politicians put out there and even certain news outlets. There's a lot of anti-cop rhetoric, or has been for the last couple of years.
What are some things that you may want to get across, as far as we know that you're trying to push the agenda, which is an extremely important one? But if a police officer was new, how about a couple pieces of advice for them entering into the field, things to know about through all your experience in this profession, and especially namely the experience that you went through? What are some things that you think you could offer to somebody? Maybe 2 or 3 things, pieces of advice you would give to a graduating class of recruits.
For one, you know, one of the things that I think is very, very important for a young officer to know is know what you're getting into. Know that there's no guarantee that you'll be going home to your family. It's not to scare them, but you need to be prepared. I mean, cops are getting killed every single day out there. We all know this. So having said that, know that there's benefits that are afforded to your families. God forbid you're the one that gets killed in line of duty. So get familiarized with what the benefits are. Have them stashed away in a safe at home in an envelope, and tell your wife or your husband, your parents, whatever the case may be, and tell them, if something should happen to me, this is what's afforded to you. These are the benefits. So getting familiarized with benefits. Equally important is keeping up with your trainings and your certifications. You know what the use of force continuum is, adhering to it, knowing how to defend yourself, whatever defensive tactics your state allows or doesn't allow. Be on top of those qualifications or certifications that are needed, so that way you can protect yourself and get out of a jam if you put in one. I think survival, really. Those are the things that I think are important. Surviving, getting home to your family safe, and staying away from any type of legal ramifications that you might get.
And I think a lot of ways to do that is to continue to educate and train nonstop, and taking as many perspectives from as many people as you can, and try to pick the nuggets that speak the most to you. And maybe employ enough discipline to recognize that you may not know everything. And you may listen to somebody who you think doesn't know what they're talking about, but you may just find one little piece of advice from them that you might find valuable. I remember when I went to an academy, my second one, a guy came in. He had been involved in 3 or 4 actually shootings. And I don't know who asked him in class. It might have been me, but I said, or somebody asked him, what's one piece of advice after being through so many shootings that you could offer to us? And he said, if you're in a gun battle, the person who actually takes a little time, just a second to aim, is probably going to win. And every time I got into a gun battle, all I remembered was to aim as to where I was shooting. Just that thought in my mind, just aim, line it up, get your aim, get your sights right, and you'll probably win the gun battle. You have a better chance of survival. And that's what I did every single time. That's why I'm here to talk to you. And I was like, wow. So in my mind, I'm constantly cycling through that. If I'm in a gun battle and it's not close quarter and hot, and I'm probably going to try to remember to use my sights to my advantage, as you do in training. But, you didn't even get a chance to pull your gun, right?
Well, I had my gun out. I didn't get a chance to pull the trigger. So I got shot. One of the bullets went right through my forearm. the round went through my ulnar nerve and out the back of my elbow.
I guess the point of what I'm saying is there's always these little nuggets. I didn't think that guy was the best cop I ever met in my life, but there's always these nuggets that you can pick up from these guys and girls and formulate how you're going to proceed forward in your profession. And that was a good one. I passed that along to everybody. Hopefully you find somebody maybe listen to this and say, I'm going to start thinking about that. I'm going to start thinking about what that means to just aim if I can. I'm fucking pumped for you to talk about that at the conference, by the way.
Yeah, it's going to, everywhere I go. I mean, I was just in Arizona.
You're a profound speaker. You got a lot of emotion. It's very impressive.
There was a room of probably about 350 officers, and the guy who was running the conference said to me, I've never seen anybody speak in front of this large of a group and keep everybody's attention for 3 hours. Nobody looked at their phones. Nobody got up to go pee or use the bathroom. They all stayed glued on their seats. That was pretty cool to hear.
Well, listen, man, I'm gonna jam, and we're gonna wrap this thing up. Right, why don't you promote your book?
Yeah, I can send you the cover and text me your email address when we get off.
Yeah, it's Dennis at streetcop.com. It's as easy as it gets.
All right.
I'll text it to you anyway.
Yeah.
But I'll promote your book. Just remind me. I'll put it on all our platforms.
That's awesome. Thank you.
We'll get put on Instagram and put it everywhere. Just you got to remind me because there's so much going on. It's so fucking chaotic here. It's like literally this place is straight chaos because I'm hiring 4 people right now. People are just like, yeah, well, this and that. I'm like, we're moving across the hall. We're going from this is 3,400 square feet to 4,300 square feet because this just came up across the hall. The guy wants the building, big building, 500,000 square feet in this building. He goes, hey, I know you guys were looking for something bigger. Across the hall, I think is a perfect fit. We walked in. I literally in 5 minutes went, just start getting the paperwork ready. We'll take it. He's like, how much it costs? I go, yeah. I know. I have an idea what it costs. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's the next move. We're coming across the hall. Let's just start working out the paint and all the furniture. They got to get out of here. That's it.
And you're based in New Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not too far. We're right in the middle of the state. Have you been to Jersey?
No, I haven't.
So,
I've
dude,
driven
honestly,
by it.
What'd you say?
I've driven by it.
It's a phenomenal place. And I actually told my brother-in-law on the phone last night. He's from Arizona. I said, the one thing about leaving here, and I'm sure you could agree with the Boston thing too, because I know the culture is very deep there. I said, you can find better weather, but you can't find a better culture. And people from New Jersey, you listen to it, people who leave, all my friends who leave are like, a lot of them come back, and they're moving to beautiful places. And they're like, yeah, just not the same. There's just something very unique and very special. And it's the people here, dude. They're good. Like you guys have great people too. I fit it like Jersey, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. These are all universal and interchangeable. Connecticut, this Northeast feel. We're all fucking assholes, but you'll never find better people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if your friends aren't making funny and breaking your balls, are they even your friends?
Yeah, exactly.
So the people here are they're good. They're good people. It may not seem friendly if you're not, and you know this because you're from a place where you guys are fucking rough in Boston. I hear you guys talk to each other. We thought we were bad. I go to Boston. I'm like, oh, these motherfuckers are outrageous. The ball breaking in Boston's nuts. And we break balls too here, but like everybody gets along. You know what I mean? It's a good, nice melting pot and a lot of hardworking immigrant feel, still Italian, German, Polish, Portuguese, a lot of Indian culture here now. And I think that it's just the same feel. People were just really, really hardworking people for the most part. And people disagree with that, but I know a lot of great people here. I love my neighbors. I have a wonderful neighborhood. And it's rare that you meet people that are really fucked up here, to be honest with you, compared to other places. All right, man. Listen, I will send me all your stuff. I'm going to text you now, and then I will talk to you soon. Anything you need, always call.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course, brother. I'll see you soon.
Bye, Dennis.